Last time, on Daughter of the Twilight, Daughter of the Light, Ilya and Link awoke somewhere in the desert, finding themselves separated and alone. Aura, Midna, and Zelda were also spirited away from Hyrule Castle by the light of the silver tear. The light faded, and the room was empty. All that was left was the wreckage that had been wrought the previous night. Footsteps echoed through the hallway as multiple guards ran down the hallways and towards the room that had been glowing only a few moments earlier. One of the guards entered the room, for he was the one who had seen the light, and he rushed in ahead of the others as soon as it died down.
Your Highness?
He looked around, seeing no sign of either the princess or her guests. And then, upon noticing the terrible condition of the room, dropped his spear and dropped his mouth open.
Holy!
Another guard walked into the room and picked up the note that had been carelessly tossed to the ground.
What does it say?
I don't know, I can't make out this lettering.
What do you mean? Is it in some other language or something?
Precisely.
The other guard walked over to the one who was holding the note.
Ancient Hylian. Why, the only ones who can still read that language are the sages, the princess, and the strange folk that hang around the bar in town.
Telma's bar?
Yeah, that's the one.
Who knows Ancient Hylian there?
There's this scholar. Shad's the name, I believe.
Then we'll just go to this Shad fellow.
Understood.
The guard who had first entered the room turned towards the others and picked up his spear again.
Men, we're moving out to Telma's bar. We're going to find this Shad character and ask him to decipher this letter here. Maybe it will help us find the princess and get to the bottom of things.
They all straightened themselves out and stood at attention.
Yes, sir!
In another part of Hyrule, a light began to shine very brightly, as if from nowhere. And then, almost as suddenly as it had begun, it died out, and in its place were three girls. Midna, Aura, and Zelda, to be more exact. They were all in a daze, wondering what had just occurred.
Whoa. What just happened?
How should I know? It's your pendant.
Well, technically it's yours.
I didn't even know my stupid tear would crystallize afterwards, let alone know all of its powers.
Some Twilight Princess you turned out to be then.
Oh, would you two be quiet for a moment and just look at where we are?
Aura and Midna stopped their quarrel and looked all around them. The walls were high and made of sandstone and clay. A hot, dry wind blew around them. The sky showed through a large opening where a roof should have been. 6 large pillars, each bearing upon it a symbol of one of the sages, protruded from the ground, and in front of them was a large mirror frame with a small set of steps leading down from it.
You really did shatter the mirror.
You didn't believe me in the first place?
Nah, I believed you. It's just that I never truly fathomed it could happen. It's just so hard to imagine. And to see it destroyed like this? In my time, it was always in top shape. It's just hard for me to take in the fact that in another time, in the past no less, the mirror is gone.
So, Aura, do you know where we are? To me, this place is so familiar. But what about you? Did either of your parents ever tell you about this place?
I think that I know, though I've never been here before myself.
Well, would you look at that? How do you suppose we ended up in the Arbiter's grounds?
It probably has to do with the tear. This is where you used it to shatter the mirror. So maybe Aura's future tear teleported us here in response to the energy that is emanating from your tear.
So it's acting like a magnet?
I believe so.
Aura's pendant began to glow again and float gently, then violently away from her chest.
It's trying to pull itself away from me.
Aura tried to hold the tear down.
Follow its lead. Maybe we'll find the other tear.
Alright, whatever you say.
In a place not far from the Arbiter's grounds, Link could finally see clearly. He could tell that he was in a wooden prison of some sort. There was a dank, musty smell all around him. It looked so familiar. It seemed so familiar. Like he had been here before. It was on the tip of his tongue, but he just couldn't seem to remember. On top of that, it seemed like it had been hours that he had been just sitting here in the dry, uncomfortable heat with his mind in a fog. But he had a feeling it had been much, much shorter than that. Though his head was still spinning quite a bit, he felt that it was about time he stood up and stretched his legs. It had been ages since the last time he had awoken so early. He stood up and raised his arms to the ceiling, feeling the blood rush from his head, resulting in a temporary state of blindness and nausea. Though the nausea could have been easily caused by Link's sudden awareness of the smell of a rotting carcass. When the nausea died down, he checked his body to see if he still had his sword. He did.
Good. These muffins really are as stupid as they look. Must make it so much easier to get out of here.
Then he smiled half-heartedly and unsheathed his sword, swinging it around twice to get the feel of it again. After all, it had been a year since he'd used it in any serious combat.
Come on, Ilya. We're busting out of here.
No response.
Ilya?
He turned around and saw that Ilya was not there. What he had mistaken for his beloved friend while his head was cloudy was something terrible, something frightening, something undead.
Oh, crap, a re-dead.
He was momentarily immobilized, the mere shock from mistaking a re-dead for Ilya, and Ilya not even being there, coursing through his body. His heart was beating so hard from shock that he could have sworn the monster could hear it. Just then, the re-dead awoke and let out a blood-curdling shriek. Link was frozen in place. He cursed himself for letting his guard down.
Damn it, I swear the scream is magic. I can't move my legs.
Link struggled to move his body, but to no avail. Then, seemingly with no other possibilities, he screamed out at the top of his lungs. Then, the rotting mass threw itself at him, grabbing hold of him tightly, all the while making hideous sucking and screeching sounds. It began to claw at him and bite his hair, its eyeless sockets glowing red with every second of torment it brought to Link. Its cracked, dried-out nails dug into his skin, tearing his flesh to the bone. Blood stained both the creature and Link's tunic. Link just kept screaming.
Ah! Ah!
The foul smell of the creature wafted all around him, causing him to be very dizzy. He finally regained his ability to move now that the shrieking had stopped, but it was too late. He had lost too much blood. He could feel himself slipping from consciousness as he stabbed the re-dead through with his sword, bringing it up and then down with a sickening sound of tearing flesh as he threw it off of his body. The last thing he saw before he fell to the ground was the re-dead topple over and explode in a plume of purple-black smoke. And then there was nothing. Nothing but the total pitch black of darkness.